I'm Al McFarland. Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarland. Today is Friday, uh, February 27th, 2026, and Fridays for us is always the Healing Circle. I'm pleased to, as always, be joined by my leader and colleague in the Friday Healing Circle venture, Dr. Ravada Garrett Akinsanya. Dr. B, we call her. Dr. B, how you doing? Welcome. Good to see you again.
I'm happy to be here and glad it's Friday. I'm not gonna lie about that. I can see some rest in the horizon for me, so I'm glad to
Well,
be here.
I hear you. I understand, and the rest is necessary. You know what I wanted to do today, and we haven't done this in a long time, is take some time, from my point of view, to talk to you just about things that are on your mind. But you know, we always start this program, and I love this with the protocol. So let's do that for me and you. Uh, and I want to invite people that are joining to participate in this protocol as well. It's a way of centering and focusing our conversation and our intent, setting intentions for the conversation. So,
Mhm.
if you're listening on any of the social media platforms on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, join in. We also want you to be part of the program. We've got a QR code at the top of the screen. Click on that, and we'll have you in conversation with us. But Dr. B, why don't we begin the protocol?
Okay, I will. And it's a very sacred time for us to do this, and especially with it being pretty much the end of Black History Month, remembering that we were Black before the Black History Month showed up, and we're going to still be Black people after it's over. So, connecting to our past, our present, and our future is the role of why we do this ritual, this healing circle. So, I want people just to take a deep breath and center and exhale. Just center again with deep cleansing breath and exhale. And as we sit together, imagine that we're in a circle, although it be virtual. But in this circle, there's no beginning, no end, no top, no bottom, and power is distributed with one's voice. And each one of us, no matter who he, they, or she claim to be, each one of us has equal access to voice, which is to speak to the center of the circle. I ask you for a moment just to look to your right and note that you're safe. Look to your left. Notice your safety. You may even look behind yourself and notice that you feel safe. Notice your feet on the floor, the chair that holds you, and the safety that comes from knowing that you're here in the present. And in this circle, we honor our elders, for our elders are the shoulders on which we stand. They are the ones who made sure that we exist. Each one of us is here because somebody hoped, prayed, and worked our way to existence. And in this space, don't you know, we are the embodiment of thousands of hopes and dreams. As we sit here honoring our elders, we also honor our ancestors, for they are the shoulders that our elders stood on. And as we honor our ancestors, we have to know that we honor them also for their wisdoms and gifts, traditions and customs that kept us safe for centuries. As we honor our ancestors, we also recognize that they are worthy as they are closest to God, our Creator. So, here in this circle of wholeness and wellness, we seek the embodiment, the knowledge, the love, and the passion of those whose dreams we stand on. And with that, we say thank you. We say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. And in this circle, we also use a talking stick, though it be virtual. And in this stick, we pass it along so we have voice. And if the spirit so moves and you need the stick, all you got to do is ask for it and it will be given. So with that underway, knowing the rules and the process of our healing circle, we pass the stick along and I give it to my Baba, Al McFarland, who has given me.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Thank you, Dr. B. Well, let me begin by inviting anybody that's connecting with us so far on either LinkedIn or YouTube, Black Press of America, or YouTube Insight News to like and share and join. Shout us out, send a note, make a note in the comment. Let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to see how far and wide people are connecting to us. So if you're anywhere in the United States or out of the U.S., say hello and let us know what city or community or country you're connecting to us from. And we want you to help us grow our subscribers to this channel. And you do that by going to Insight News channel on YouTube. It's YouTube Insight News MN. And there you subscribe, you like, and you share. Most important, we want you to be in the conversation with us today. And you can do that by clicking on, if you're on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on any of the YouTube channels, just join the chat. We'd like to have a lively chat going, but also if you want an invitation to join, copy the URL code at the top of this screen, and we'll send you a link. You can be on live with us. We would like to have you on with us. Dr. B, I wanted to take some time, and I haven't done this in a long time, is to share with people kind of more about who you are. And we haven't done that, and I wanted to just I did pull up the About Us page of the African American Child Wellness Institute. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read that. And it says, Dr. Ravada Garrett Akinsanya is a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed clinical social worker who is co-founder and serves as the executive director of the African American Child Wellness Institute. As well, she serves as president of Brakens Consulting and Psychological Services. Her past community services include organizations such as Greater Minnesota Daycare Alliance, president of the Minnesota Psychological Association, president of the Association of Black Psychologists, and president of the Society for the Psychology of Women of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Garrett Akinsanya serves on the State Advisory Council's subcommittee on children's mental health and chairs the Outreach to Diverse Communities work group, whose charge is to recommend to the governor strategies for reducing disparities and increasing equitable access to quality mental health. Dr. B, President of everything, right? It's always good to take the time to present the credential and the ground from which you advance a vision and philosophy of health and wellness for our community. And I wanted to have you just take some time today to share how you have come to treasure and value the idea that we all belong here, number one, and that we can be intentional in discovering ways, creating internal and external dialogues that support our well-being and the confidence that our existence is purposeful, meaningful, intentional, and necessary for the world to be what it's going to be. Right. Dr. B, what do you think?
Oh, I thank you for that wonderful introduction and for actually reminding me of the distance I've walked and run and sometimes, but I really appreciate being able to share this part of my story. And I think it's important today that our stories tell that we have meaning. They tell that we've gone a distance. And I think about being a little girl in Texas during Jim Crow. And I always tell those people about the story of seeing, I could read, so I must have been first grade or so. And I remember the toilet said colored, and the other toilet door for women said white. And our toilet at home was white. And I wanted to go to the toilet bathroom because I thought it was going to be blue and yellow and pink and green. So I remember asking my mom if I could go to the toilet, to the colored toilet. And she said, sure, go ahead. And I ran to that toilet and looked around. Every single thing in there was white, just like at home. And I remember running out and telling my mom, I said, Mama, those people lied. That bathroom is not colored. It's white, just like at home. And to me, that kind of marked the journey that I would have the rest of my life. Because soon that day, a little bit later, I saw a water fountain. One said white and one
Mhm.
said colored. Well, I still didn't get that I was colored and what that meant. And so I saw a water fountain, that colored water fountain. I knew I hadn't seen purple or green or yellow commodes, but I know I had seen purple, green, red colored water called Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid kids. So I knew that existed in my cognitive schema. And about the same time as I was approaching that colored water fountain, there was a little white girl there. And she was just about to change the sprocket and turn the sprocket. And her mother grabbed her by the arm and said, you cannot drink from that colored water fountain. And the little girl just had a fit. She said, but I want the colored water. I want that colored water. She was just having a fit. So I knew it must be good because your parents never want you to have something like that. So I remember walking up to the colored water fountain, her gone, looking for my mom, turning the sprocket. It was clear. And that's the day, I'm 60. To that day, I remember it just like it was yesterday. That trauma of thinking something's wrong, that the white girl and I can't drink from that same water fountain. And the fact that they lied and the Kool-Aid wasn't in the fountain and the colored toilets weren't existing. And I noticed after that colored wasn't good or black wasn't good. You know, it's okay to get mail unless it's black mail. It's okay to have magic unless it's black magic. It's okay for even angel's food cake is white, but devil's food cake is dark. And in our society, Brother Al, even a lie is okay if it's a white lie.
Mm.
So our African American Child Wellness Institute is based foundationally on that issue and the premise that our society unknowingly marginalizes, bastardizes, demonizes our Black skin. And so when we think about it, I think about our mission, which is to provide the psychological and spiritual liberation of children of African descent and their families and their communities. So we're trying to break that experience because even recently and throughout our history as providers and psychologists, which is what I am, we have seen that white models of wellness do not fit our paradigm. White models are based on individualism. Black models are based on collectivism. I am because we are. We are because I am. And if we work within a context of Black family, somebody can be called the aunt, the auntie, the uncle, the sister, the brother, and they are not even related biologically, but they're related in our heart. So a model of health is one that incorporates and doesn't marginalize those values. And so that's what we do at the African American Child Wellness Institute, because we begin with the children, but they come in a package called families. Mm-hmm. Families come in a package called communities. Communities come in a package called society. And before you look, the way we begin in this world dictates the way we move. So that's what we're doing. So one of the biggest things right now in Minnesota, as you know, is how changes are occurring in different programs, where we're not being able to access culturally specific work. So that's one of the fights I'm fighting in the governor's subcommittee for mental health and in other areas. So you got it. I could go on and on, but that's enough to start with.
We'll start with that. You know, I happen to have, and maybe I can pull it up on the screen. I got a note from Senator Champion, an email or um, we call it not an email, but a
A text or
text. Yeah,
mhm.
and he texted a story from this organization called Minneapolis Media. I don't know them, but I went to their website, I read it. And let me share that. Let me share my screen because it talks about what you're talking about. And it's an important thing. And I think we need to mobilize around the questions that are being raised and the interests of our community, which are being, from my point of view, once again, put on the back burner, right? For whatever reason, there's no good reason because our health is ongoing and our needs are ongoing. And so it's not acceptable for anybody to say that we have to suffer until they figure out some administrative or whatever processes they need. Let me see if I can share my screen here and see, share screen. 1 second. And I'm going to try to here pull this one file up. Let me know when it's up. I think I've got it here. Add to the stage. So this is I read this as part of the text, but I didn't see it as a full thing. I'm looking at it now. So this is dated today, and the headline is "At Minnesota's Capitol: A Fight Over Fraud Reform and the Power of the Purse." Let me see if it will let me open it up. Okay. And I'm sort of doing this as we go. So
Mm-hmm.
if I don't quite get the thing the right way, bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am not sure I'm able to open it up. Jared, I don't know if you can open this file up at all and run along with it, but maybe I can open it on my desktop and just read from that one, Dr. B. Hold on
Mm-hmm.
a second. Let me just close a part of the window. And I have it open here.
But I can surely see the lines about Senator Champion opposing model that Governor Walsh is trying to
Right.
implement. He is
Oh, here it is. Okay, here
truly
it is.
uninformed.
So let me read it. It says at Minnesota, and it's on the screen now, right? You're
Yes,
seeing
it
it.
is.
At Minnesota's Capitol, fight over fraud reform and the power of the purse. I guess the author is the editor of this publication, Tom Akaolisa. Don't know him. Sure, I'll meet him sometime. And picture of a governor, and then one of Senator Bobby Joe Champion, my representative from North Minneapolis here. The story says in the marble corridors of the Minnesota State Capitol, the debate over fraud has evolved into something larger than oversight spreadsheets and audit findings. It's become a constitutional argument about the power, equity, and mechanics of trust in government. At the
That's right.
center of the clash are Bobby Joe Champion, president of the Minnesota Senate, and Tim Walz, whose anti-fraud legislative package proposed ending one of the legislature's most potent fiscal tools, that being direct appropriations to nonprofit organizations. It says Champion's response was swift and unequivocal. Open quote, "I will not vote for and will actively rally support against any bill that includes an end to direct appropriations," he said in a public statement. Direct appropriations have not led to the fraud that our state government is confronting. The article goes on to show the catalyst, and that is a $250 million scandal. The picture there, I believe, is the picture of, it doesn't identify the picture. I'm presuming it's someone with, and I don't want to say because I don't want to libel anybody, right, or slander anybody. But there's a photograph there, and so the article continues. The policy rupture traces back to the federal investigation into Feeding Our Future, a nonprofit accused of orchestrating what prosecutors described as one of the largest pandemic relief fraud schemes in the country. According to federal charging documents, approximately $250 million in child nutrition funds were allegedly diverted from their intended purpose. Subsequent reviews, including findings from the Minnesota Office of the Legislative Auditor, concluded that Minnesota Department of Education's oversight of the federally funded program had been inadequate in critical respects. The scandal intensified bipartisan calls for structural reform of how Minnesota distributes and monitors public funds. Governor Walz responded with a multi-pronged anti-fraud package designed to tighten pre-award vetting, strengthen monitoring requirements, and increase enforcement capacity. A defining provision sought to eliminate direct appropriations to nonprofits and to move all such funding into competitive grant processes administered by state agencies. So the subtext now, subtitle, Two Paths to Public Dollars. That's the next breakdown. At the heart of the debate is a technical but consequential distinction. Under a competitive grant model, a state agency issues a formal request for proposals. Nonprofits apply. Agency staff evaluate submissions using standardized criteria before awarding funds. Under a direct appropriation, also known as a legislative named grant, lawmakers write the name of a specific organization and a dollar amount directly into statute. Those funds, the funds are allocated without a competitive RFP process. Walz's administration framed the proposal shift as a move towards uniformity and risk mitigation, requiring all recipients to pass through agency level vetting, the governor argued, would create standardized pre-award screening, reduce perceived favoritism, and ensure that financial experts, rather than legislators, evaluate fiscal capacity. Reminding you that I'm reading an article that appeared in today's edition of Minneapolis Media. It's a resource that I'm not familiar with. It's new to me, but I became aware of it in a text from Senator Bobby Joe Champion that came to me and several other people. I've responded saying that, asking, he hasn't responded again, what his thoughts were on the coverage and what we need to do in the Black community to elevate this. So that's why I'm pleased to have this time with you, Dr. B, to have this discussion. And I'd love to have other people in community who are concerned about this process and the options before us to weigh in now and in the future if we set up a program focusing exclusively on how Black programs and Black communities are being directly negatively impacted by the paralysis of the state due to a problem that they've identified, but that problem is causing system-wide reduction in capacity and service to the needs that are ongoing of a fragile, trauma impacted community, Black Minnesotans. Let me continue. And the next subtitle is A Question of Equity and Access. So Champion does not dispute the need for stronger oversight. His objection centers on the diagnosis.
That's right.
He said, the governor's actions appear to blame direct appropriations for the fraud facing our state. I stand ready, willing, and able to continue tackling the challenges related to fraud. However, I am not willing to blame avenues used to invest in communities across our state. Let me read it again. I stand ready, willing, and able to continue tackling the challenges related to fraud. However, I am not willing to blame avenues used to invest in communities across our state. For Champion, who represents North Minneapolis, the issue is historical as much as procedural. He and members of the People of Color and Indigenous Caucus, I call it Posse, I think, Posse, that's what it's sort of the pseudonym, or what's the right word for it? Anyway, argue that small community-based organizations often lack the professional grant writing infrastructure necessary to compete successfully against large established institutions in complex state bidding processes. Direct appropriations, they contend, allow lawmakers to direct resources intentionally to neighborhoods that traditional bureaucratic pipelines have underserved. Champion's core assertion is that the method of allocation is not the root cause, was not the root cause of the Feeding Our Future scandal. The failure, he argues, lay in post-award monitoring, documentation review, and agency enforcement mechanisms. The next subtitle, Checks, Balances, and the Power of the Purse. The standoff underscores a deeper tension between Minnesota's executive and legislative branches. The governor seeks greater standardization and centralized oversight authority within state agencies. The legislature, constitutionally vested with the power of appropriation, has historically named grants in response to urgent local needs. The debate has exposed not only policy differences, but institutional ones. Who should determine risk and who should control the final destination of public dollars? As negotiations progressed, the broader anti-fraud package advanced with enhanced reporting requirements, strengthened whistleblower protections, and increased resources for oversight entities, including the Office of Legislative Auditor. But the wholesale elimination of direct appropriations encountered significant resistance, particularly from lawmakers who viewed the proposal as a structural shift that could diminish targeted community investment. I'm going to stop there. I'll direct you to go read that article. The bottom line here, I'll read the last paragraph. It says, in the weeks ahead, committee hearings will examine audit data, oversight failures, fiscal safeguards. The larger question will linger. Can Minnesota fortify its defenses against fraud while preserving the legislature's discretion to invest directly in communities it believes have been left behind? For Senator Champion, that balance is non-negotiable. That's a powerful statement there. So, Dr. B, what do you think? And I see Brother Yelly is in the studio as well. Maybe he'd want to join and share in this conversation as well. But let me stop sharing this. Before I do, there was another article that I haven't read yet, but I'll show the headline. It's also dated today. The final record as a legislative audit, three-generation capital map and forensic accounting of Minnesota's engineered wealth diversions. I don't know what that article says. We'll read it and maybe come back to that a little later on. I'm going to stop the sharing right now. But thanks to Minneapolis Media, again, it's an organization that I'm not aware of, but I'm directing you to check it out because it's a pretty strong statement presented there. Dr. B, what do you think?
I have so many thoughts and emotions around it that I had to stop for a minute, breathe, and put my psychologist hat on.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in psychology is that we're supposed to be trained to be able to impact and understand human behavior. And what we're describing right now is truly a classic case of pro-racist ideology, lack of being woke, and detrimental problems. In our society, we have even researched this kind of thing. Now let's dissect it for a moment. One thing is they know good and well, they've known this forever, that many small organizations, most, do not have a grant writer. They're not trained in grant writing. They don't understand the language. They don't understand when you say, give me some kind of smart measurement of your goals. We haven't had that opportunity. What white people have had is hundreds and hundreds of years where they came and took the Indians' land. They came and used money, killed up all the buffalo, killed up all the people, and got rich. Then, through their richness, they were making a big pot of stew, and they said, "Whoa, maybe I throw the Native Americans a couple of chicken wings." They own the chicken and the farm that your chicken was on, but they're going to give you a couple of chicken wings. Going even deeper is the fact that people who are holding these assets and these systems are defining success. So how can one who is already benefiting and privileged describe success for someone who is not from that place? So I sit in those rooms, and I can tell you right now, I look in the room, I'm the only chocolate face. I get people to come in, they feel hostility, they don't get called for meetings, and they get kind of marginalized. And so in our state, when I heard that a moment ago, the first thing that came to my mind was, that's a bunch of BS. This brother needs to be educated, because there's a thing, get this brother out, there's a thing, a phenomena, a psychological principle called aversive racism. Aversive racism. Now, one may want to say, what does that mean? Well, what happened is people avert the idea of racism by putting something else in front of it. Sometimes they say it's poverty. Sometimes they say, yeah, it may be gender. Sometimes they say, well, if I do this for you, if I do this policy change for you, I have to do it for everybody else. So that excuse is not to do it. We have psychological research. And one of the most, I'm just going to be quick and tell you this, one of the most powerful research that changed, and I'll ask that brother to come on our show maybe in the next week or two. One of the most powerful studies was done by a white man named Jack Dovidio. He looked at helping behavior. That's what that is. That's what those policies are about, helping behavior and who you're going to choose to help. And what he looked at is Black and white relationships and helping behavior. He had a Black person pretending to be choked and one white person sitting there watching him. He looked at how often that white person got up to help. And the white person got up to help about 87% of the time. And when there's a white person choking, they got up to help maybe about 80%. So he said in his background, why did you get up more for the Black person than the white person? And they said, well, thinking, I'm racist, or thinking I'm racist. I'm the only one in there. They would blame me. Then he said, okay, there's this thing called diffusion of responsibility. Now that's where our legislators sit. They can diffuse or spread out responsibility and not take personal responsibility for their decisions. And in that part of the model, he now had two white people watching one Black person choke, or two white people watching one white person choke. This time, they got up to help the white. Both of them got up. Looked at when both of them got up. Both of them got up about 83% of the time for the white person who was choking. But Brother Al, they got up only 37% of the time when the Black man was choking. Then that's where excuses, policies, and practice come in. They said, he asked them, why did they get up? They said, well, I thought she was going to do it. Or I thought he was going to do it. Oh, and I didn't get up in time. I thought somebody else was going to help. Do you hear me? Just take that phenomena across all decision making. If you can put it on anything beside your own personal behavior, if you don't look racist while doing it, then you would do it. That's what his study showed over and over in multiple environments. Aversive racism. And so that policy, that is just a stepchild to aversive racism. And it tells me that our governor, our legislators, they all need to be educated, because the thing that is most impacted by racism are policies. That's why it took us so long to change the policy on taking Black children out of their homes. Actually, and they said, well, I'm taking them out because that home is bad and the mama uses drugs. But the law doesn't necessarily mandate that they set up a case. And it's a white kid under the same condition. I can tell you, I've seen it in my practice. And they won't take that child out of the home. They'll say the mother needs support. She just needs to go to NA or AA. She needs a job. That's how it works. So I'm gonna shut up because we got other guests, but let that be the floor of the discussion.
Well, thank you, Dr. B. I think we can stretch out. I see Brother Yelly is in the background. Brother Yelly, let me introduce you as well. Brother Yelly, Akintanya, is an astute business leader with extensive knowledge and experience in city and regional planning. His specific backgrounds include transit and transportation planning, housing development, energy development, as well as business process reengineering in the transit and healthcare industries. He co-founded ACWI, the African American Child Wellness Institute, with Dr. Garrett Akintanya, and together they brought the organization to where it is today. He's an active member in various community organizations, including the Minnesota Institute of Nigeria Development, MIND, and Egbe Omo Odudawa, Minnesota. Brother Yelly, let me say, in the spirit of transparency, I serve on the board of the African American Child Wellness Institute, and it's been both a pleasure and a learning experience for me to be in the company and in the service of both a great mission and a great team, a great vision and a great need. And so it touches all of my activation bells, and I'm pleased to be in your company. Brother Yelly, let me bring you in here. And, we've not had a chance for you to tell your story in this program. And in the context of where we are today, this might be a good time to share who you are, who we are to each other. And we want to invite people who are listening to join the conversation, because this is about community, how we connect and how we share, how we generate narratives that will support our community. How do we resist efforts to marginalize and destroy what we have built and are building? So, Brother Yelly, good afternoon. Good to see you as always.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother Alan. Good afternoon, Dr. B. When I've been listening to all the deliberations that you guys have been having, and I have to say this, and if Governor Walz is listening or has access to this podcast, I want him to actually open his mind and understand what the people who are advising him are actually telling him. When he realizes the bad advices they are giving him, frankly speaking, he's going to be ashamed of what he's trying to do. I believe because he's a man with a good heart, but the people surrounding him that are advising him are giving him not only bad advice, they are giving him bad history. Now, let's look at what has happened in Minnesota. Okay? They're talking about all these frauds. And the agency that is supposed to have internal control measures in their own organization to prevent all these corruptions, all these fraudulent practices from happening, did not do their work. They did not do their work. If they had even 25%, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm hearing Dr. B speak in the background.
No, we hear you. I hear you fine.
Okay. So if they had done their work, majority of all these fraudulent activities will have been prevented. I'm not going to name the organization. They know what the organization is. The Minnesota Office of Legislative Audit has cited this organization every single year from flaws. And the director of the Legislative Audit actually said before the governor and the legislature that what she cannot understand is how this organization that have been cited for about 8 or 9 or 10 years in a row can be allowed to continue to do the same wrong things year in, year out. So what is really bugging me is that does the governor even know of the report that the Office of Legislature is talking about and what those issues are? So a process that benefits smaller minority organizations. They want to eliminate it. These are the same people who couldn't prevent billions of dollars from being stolen because they don't know what they are doing, or they couldn't put in internal control measures to prevent all those activities from happening. This is the same agency that the Office of Legislative Audit actually said was involved in fraudulent activities itself. We have 4 or 5 or 6, 7 media links that I can put on screen now to show that the Office of Legislative Audit has released publicly saying that this same agency, not only are they fraudulent, they are fraudulent themselves. They create data where they ask them for information, they backdate data. Not only do they backdate data, they create information, so they are actually performing fraud when the Office of Legislative was investigating them. So this is the same agency that is advising the governor to eliminate direct appropriation, because they know direct appropriation is the only way you can try to even equalize, and you will never equalize access to smaller and minority organizations. When you have competitive bidding, which the governor is talking about, and the governor knows better, when you have competitive bidding, who does that benefit? Dr. B talked about it benefits all these white organizations that have been in place for the past 100 and something years, who have more resources to hire grant managers, to hire all the infrastructure in place. So when you have unique, when you have performance measures that are applied to all organizations, regardless of whether the organization is well funded or is even been in practice for 20 years, and other ones have been in practice for 200 years, and they have gazillions of money, how do you expect those two organizations to perform when you're applying a uniform standard to them? So when Senator Champion says he will not, he is very experienced. He knows exactly. But Senator Champion knows the impact of direct appropriation. And every single person who has a very clear mind, knows who benefits from uniform applications of rules. Uniform application is white organizations that have been in place forever, who have the resources to develop. Somebody, Dr. B was talking to somebody this morning who was applying for a job somewhere. When you have a very, one series or one set of people who just look like you, that's what white people do. They don't pay attention to black organizations. They don't pay attention to diversity. But research upon research have shown that when you have a diverse group of people advising you or making policy, the policy actually is much better and it's more effective and benefit majority of the people rather than just the white organization or the white people. So when you hear the governor, frankly speaking, when I heard that the governor was the one pushing this uniform set of standard, my mind, frankly speaking, my heart broke, because I thought he knew better than that. And I applaud Senator Champion and all the other white people that see uniform application of rules as discriminatory by itself. And that the organization that was supposed to prevent all this fraud from taking place, if they had done their work, none of this fraud will have happened. Now, put those facts together. How does the governor feel about that? So the people affected, advising the governor are doing him a disservice. And he is doing himself a disservice by not using people with diverse experience, diverse ethnicity, diverse mission to help him design what is good. He's going to regret if that uniform standard application ever passes. Minnesota will become one of the worst places in the state, in the United States, to work, because it will be going back 20, 30, or 40, or 50 years from where they are now. So please, Governor Walz, don't listen to the people who are asking you to apply uniform measures to gauge application of grants or award of grants to people or organizations in Minnesota. It's racist, it's biased, and it only benefits organizations that have been in place forever. Thank you. I'm sorry, I could go on forever, but I think
listen, this is an important conversation. Take a minute and I mentioned some of your training in business area. Take a few minutes, if you don't mind, Brother Yelly, to talk
Yes, sir.
about how you've come to this kind of work, because you've got a very storied and specialized business career.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. When I was in Texas, my wife and I moved here in 1998 from Texas, and for those people who know me, my wife actually told me that I have too many degrees, that I needed what do you call it? What did she call it? That I needed
Career counseling.
I needed career counseling. I have master's degree in public administration with city planning and administration. I have a master's degree in urban and regional planning with emphasis in transportation and infrastructure development. Then when I did all of that, and I was so unsatisfied because I used to think that city planning, infrastructure planning was, facts and figures. But then when you operate within a political environment, politics overshadows your technical knowledge, and they overshadow your perfect, I don't want to say perfect, but it overshadows quantitative analysis. So all of a sudden, qualitative analysis is being applied to make decisions about what should be quantitatively looked at. So when I went back to business school and got my MBA, when I came back from that program, I focused on business process improvement. Basically saying any organization, whether you are a non-profit or you are the most profit organization in the world, if you look at what you do on a daily basis, how do you make money, or how do you advance a specific mission? If you look within those, they call it business processes. Every organization goes through a business process every single day. We just don't identify them. So when you identify your own business process about how, for example, when we wake up and go to work, we're going through a series of business processes on how to get up from bed and go to work. If you look at that series of activities that you go through in a day, what business improvement processes is telling you is that you can eliminate some waste within that process. When you eliminate those wastes, of course, you make more money, or you make your business processes more improved, or it's more effective. So you can apply that model to a profit and non-profit, or to the most profitable organization in the world, or the most non-profitable organization in the world. So if I come to your organization today, or to the governor's office today, I can show the governor, and I'll bet my life on this, I can show the governor about hundreds of wasteful steps. And this organization that I'm talking about, I used to tell somebody, I said, I wish the governor can just give me 2 years. I will straighten that organization up, because there's so much duplication, there's so much excess layers of services that could be eliminated and make that. How in the world, now listen to this, Mr. McFarland, how does an organization, how can you be effective when it takes you 6 months to process a contract? You can do a contract maximum in 2 weeks. We've seen it done. And I'll tell you this, when they were working on one of our contracts, they said it was going to take 6 months. This is one when Commissioner Jody was there. Commissioner Jody said, look, I want you guys to work on this. The same thing that they said it was going to take them 6 months, it took them 2 weeks. They got it done. So why were they able to get it done? That was because somebody with common sense, the commissioner, challenged them and said, I want this thing done now. But then when somebody tells you it's going to take 6 months, and you just accept that as a standard, it's not the standard. That's a wasteful process.
Yeah. And let me jump in. If it took people 6 months to sell a house, it should, they'd be out of business. So and it's not like they don't have the same contract basis on all. It's like the same toolkit that they use to produce the information. And so I wanted to jump in, because what Yele is really talking about is the work that we see needs to be done is the minds, the hearts, the measurement of outcomes, and the principles on which they build these programs. And the top principle has to be Is it empowering for that community?
Yes.
Not do I think it is, do they think it is?
Mhm.
Is it going to be something that can be sustained? And if it's not, what do I need to build an infrastructure to help them sustain the needs they have as a community? Like they say, you can give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day, right? But if you teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. But we got a lot of people who not telling us how to eat it. They're not even giving us the whole fish. I mean, it's just a mess. But the deal that gets me most when I read stuff like that is they all think, oh, that's a great idea. It's fair. It's fair, but equal doesn't mean equity, right? And when a moment ago, I was saying they're woke. But you know, the Navajo have a saying, a proverb. They say you can't awake a person who's pretending to be asleep. You know, so they saying they're not woke. Yeah, they woke. They don't want to be awake. And so what we're dealing with in this whole
they're hanging on to their ignorance. It's a willful ignorance, right? And the ignorance is purposeful because it allows them to not face the truth of their own declared intention. It allows duplicity, and it's at the end of the day, that's what evil is all about.
That is. And what Dr. Davidio's work also says is that people will do the right thing when they know what it is. So somehow people don't, and you can't hear your own voice all the time. You got to have diversity around you and courage without people feeling like they're going to be beat down, lose everything. I heard one of my Indian sisters say, you know, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm act like I'm not there because then they won't bother us. And so when you see that, that's oppression. But if you're a person who's never been oppressed, you don't know what it looks like when you see it. And it's just like, you know, they say a person who only has a hammer, he sees everything as a nail. Isn't that the thing?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, so you know, I wanted to take a couple of minutes, Dr. B, to talk about the state of the president did a State of the Union, and the mayor, I think, did one in Minneapolis a few days ago, State of the City. What is the state of the mental health of the Black child in this city, in these times, in this country? How critical is the work that we are doing? And how important is it that we elevate this? Because I think somewhere you've described this as people who your parable from the Navajo, if they are not asleep, you can't wake them.
That's right.
You can't wake them, right?
That's right. You can't wake somebody who's pretending to be asleep.
Yeah.
So I think.
What is the need in our community? I see a Larry Redmond has joined. Larry, if you want to come on, I'll bring you in. How you doing?
We sure could use anybody.
Did I come on there? I've been on another Zoom. In fact, have to go on another one, but Senator Champion had sent me a text that perhaps I should join you guys.
Oh, well, wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. We're talking about the article that we just saw in the Minneapolis about, the challenge on whether the state will follow the governor's recommendation of eliminating the direct funding for nonprofit organizations. Where do you stand? Maybe you can shed light on the discussion.
Well, but the reason I'm jumping in, and I'm going to be in and out of here quick because I got to go on this call, So I apologize. No disrespect meant for the importance of this call. But Senator Champion, I respond when Senator Champion sends me something. I'm in the governmental relations lobbyist, and I've worked on a number of different projects where there have been legislative grants made to various business organizations. The ones that I've been involved in were ones where there was a significant federal component. They specifically, there's a program called BioMaid, which is a very significant project having to do, it's largely federally funded, that has to do with turning one thing into another thing. It's kind of the miracle of science. Another program called Niron, which has to do with magnet production, which is another, these are kind of really earth-shattering scientific discoveries that have taken place. And another entity called Northwind, which has to do with something called a hypersonic wind tunnel, which I could blow your mind by explaining all these things, but I won't take all your time on that. But the important part of this is these are largely federal projects, but some state participation was required for the federal to have access to the federal money. They are potentially will open up channels of massive employment, major employment, knock on wood. You got to grow the thing and see where it goes. So there's fairly large scale in that regard. What's a little different about those is kind of pure economic development, pure science, but federal money match. And we're distressed by seeing this announcement. There are other projects that could come forward like this, that could be great opportunities like this. So we were a little taken aback yesterday when we saw that the governor was suggesting no direct appropriations and just a general statement like that, because that, if that would have been in place, these very significant process and money coming right out of Washington, D.C. to put Minnesotans to work wouldn't be there. So that's the reason I'm in here. I've actually been through this battle on a few things and so forth.
What do people need to do? How does the citizen and the nonprofits in particular organize to protect and grow their interests? Because people feel like they are pawns that they have no power over. I don't know if that's really the case. Is there a strategy of organizing, of mobilizing that can protect and grow the capacity for our community to own systems and processes that bring us well-being, economically, educationally, mentally, beyond?
Yeah.
What do you think, Larry?
I would suggest three things specifically, to that point. First of all, the easy one first, stay close to Senator Champion. You can trust him. We can trust him. He's on this. You could see his disdain when he saw this report yesterday. He's in a significantly important position, not only because of the significant prestige he has in the Senate as the president, but he also happens to be the chair of a committee of great jurisdiction. There are other committees beyond his that will be affected by this. So that's a little bit of coals to Newcastle, though, because Bobby Joe's, he's already, he's probably there before any of us were. So, but we should start with the person who deserves credit. I believe in praise first, okay? Those who deserve it. Secondly, I think we need to be a squeaky wheel with in the House of Representatives, particularly. We need to get some voice there on both sides of the aisle. Of course, as you guys probably know, the House is a very complicated political equation right now because of the equal division of control, which means one should be bipartisan. I kind of think you should always be bipartisan in advocacy to begin with. And but I would think that there should be, particularly given the fact that it's Governor Walz who's a Democrat that's done this, I guess I would maybe, even though it should be equal, I would maybe underline the DFL on that particular front in the House. And I would look at the parallel committees, which are co-chaired by Representative Pinto from St. Paul and Representative Baker from Wilmer. So I think we ought to be thinking, what connections do we have? And looking at what's called the Workforce Committee in the House. Look at that committee and see if there are particular members that each of us have direct connection with because of where we're located or so forth. And the deal there is be squeaky about it. And I think anybody else, by the way, just because somebody's not in that key position, less that they can do, but I still think it's a good idea to be squeaky with them because they talk to each other. And that's, and that's part of the deal. The third category I'd say is I think we ought to immediately be respectfully but clearly raising an objection to the governor's office about what's been said here and underscoring how significant this is. There are many direct grants that are actually what are referred to in state financing as already built into the base. And the idea of connecting this to the fraud question is frankly a misnomer beyond imagination, because there was no fraud issues with any of the special appropriations. With all due respect to all the state agencies, the fraud that came in took place in stuff that were not direct appropriation.
Exactly.
So
Come on now.
why are we being kicked? We're not. There's I got a rude story
So-
about a
so
Thanksgiving dinner
let's
where
sit, sit with that. So Larry, so the question is why? Because
I think-
from the critics' corner or from the skeptics' corner, you know, I'm the skeptic as a newspaper
Yes.
guy, right?
yes,
I've seen this play before where they create a situation and it justifies their wholesale abandonment of a strategy that empowers and includes and grows communities and reinforces old systems where it's just the old boys club. Read that as white people taking care of white people, keeping black people out. We're the barbarians at the gate, and they're trying to shut us out. And the problem is we're not trying to change or affect or negatively impact anybody in the state. We're simply seeking to save ourselves
That's
and
right.
therefore not be a burden on other people.
That's
We
right.
can add more to the value of quality of life to Minnesota by being supported in our bid, our demand for inclusion. What do you think?
I think two things to say to that. First of all, it'd be as the white guy on the call, let me say this, that and I'm preaching to the choir here, in fact, way beyond, because you guys know better than me, so forgive me for that. But
Sure.
there is overt racism, overt discrimination that takes place where it's no question what it is. There is a more pernicious form of discrimination that takes place when it is done through some kind of other signal. It maybe nobody woke up in the morning meaning to do damage to their neighbor, but by some other neglect or by some lack of thoughtfulness, something happens. I think we're in that territory. So my own view is I don't question the motives per se of all the people who did this. I don't think this falls in that first category I described. But the second category, in a way, as I said, is a bit more pernicious because it's a way of just avoiding it. And again, I know I'm preaching the choir on that subject. So,
Mr. McFarland, I'm sorry. I wanted to just emphasize something that Larry just said.
Mhm.
Please, you know, if you don't believe these three black faces, at least let's try to believe this white face among us. He just said, no, I'm serious. He just said that if you look at all the programs that are affected with all the fraudulent activities, they are not direct appropriated programs. These are grant programs, hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars worth of grant programs that went through, quote, quote, competitive bidding. If
yes.
he sees that, why is this so wrong? Or why is this so? Why is the governor can't see that? You know, if he's being advised by these people, why can't he just? This is why can't he just say that?
We're down to the last minute. Go ahead, Larry.
Let me go back to my other point, to Mr. McFarland's question, the second point, because I think it absolutely addresses what you just read. Is why did this happen? I think, in fair, first of all, I'm not going to say what's in the governor's head or anybody else's, because I'm not in their head, so I don't want to overstate the same thing. But what I suspect is we are seeing an overreaction on the governor's office and the governor's part to highly unflattering and uncharitable acts from our nation's capital, from a particular individual with great power, and I think he just threw it out. And what's happened is people aren't thinking. Here's the good news. I know we got limited time, but we got to get up and do stuff. Under the Constitution of the state, appropriations is not owned by the executive branch. It's owned by the legislative branch.
Yes.
And so what we need to do is we should be to Walz, because Walz is a natural ally of these things, but he's misguided on this, and we should just say it and get there. I wouldn't go beat him up. I wouldn't go punch him in the nose, quite frankly, because that's no way to get a conversation. But we should not back down. We should be very forthright and firm about what we're saying. And but then I think we've got to go back to the business of the Senate and those House committees. We got to work those because that's where they own the purse. They own the purse, and we've got to do that. And I think we got to get ourselves mobilized, as you guys are saying, and get everybody else out and talking about, hey, here's all this good stuff that happened, which is built into the furniture of the state funding. And this is an ignorant idea that is being proposed, and it should be called that, and just call it out on that and say, let's just correct it. And then it's okay. Walz, get the governor pulled back, saying, you know what, I missed that point.
Sure.
This is what I want to do. But don't, nothing happens without effort. So we need to be a squeaky wheel and get out there and do it. Right again, I have to take it. Right things do not happen by themselves. They only happen by people doing them.
Listen, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Larry, for joining us. Yelly, thank you. Dr. B, thank you. This was a perfect conversation. But you know what I'm going to do? We're going to focus all of next week. All of our programs for every day next week are going to focus on this issue. It's that big, that important. So, Larry, I'm going to ask you to help me identify some of the people that ought to be heard and who can be part of the squeaking wheel, because we want to provide a solid set of voices from our communities about doing the right thing right now.
Okay, we should coordinate maybe through Senator Champion's office. Keep him the center. He is our hero. He is our hero on this.
I believe so. We should.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
I told him they don't call him champion for nothing.
That's exactly right.
That's a mic drop. Thank you, Dr. B. I'm Al McFarland. So look, plan to be here Monday. Let people know that we're on this topic Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Next week, we're going to focus on this. We want to rally the troops.
Al, let me get in your loop. Let me give you an email address for me, because I'm going to.
Sure, go ahead.
It's LREDMOND at REDMONDMN.com. It's kind of long. L Redmond at redmondmin.com.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We'll see you.
Thank you, Larry.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for showing
Thanks
up.
for doing what you do. Thanks for doing what all you guys do.
All right.
Thank you.
And thanks to Senator Champion.
Thank you, Senator Champion. You are the man. Thank you for raising this issue. Can you imagine, Mr. McFarland, if he just cow down and say, the governor, I'm glad that he raised this issue, because when the governor realizes what is going on, he's going to go back and thank Senator Champion for what he had done. He will be thanking him. Because
we're a good conversation.
And we'll see you Monday. Take care.
Yes, we will. Okay. We'll see you Monday.
All right. See you Monday.
Same time. See you later. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right.
You too.
And I think our